Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Book to Block, a series where I bring my fantasy novel to life in Minecraft, one block at a time. In the last episode, I built the tavern on over there, but in this episode, we're going to focus on the water today. We're going to be building the docks, and maybe a couple of little buildings alongside the water's edge. So let's get to building. Alright, so first off, the original plan was it to be here, but I think here works better because it's more of a flat area to kind of slope into the starting of the dock. I've also adjusted this shape, adding a little offshoot here. So I've got a little outline here. So next would be to work on the kind of supports, because this isn't going to be a floating dock. It's going to be one that has supports going all the way down to the bottom here. So let's put those in and see what's next. Alright, so here we got the supports. So these are quite long, so when I'm making the forest over on that side of the world, I'm going to have to design some very tall trees so that this can be feasible. When you're doing them down here to this point, I left this one open. You want to avoid doing this. You want to make sure that the wood actually gets all the way into the ground and it's not exposed and just sitting on top of the bottom layer of your lake. Alright, so next we'll be placing in the planks that you'll have to support the whole dock. So I'm going to go in with these stripped oak and then oak planks. So down the center, I'm going to do kind of just a racing stripe of the stripped oak wood, and then filling in the gaps with just the oak wood itself, the planks. Alright, so now we've got the platform that the dock is holding up. We can now remove this red outer bit and add in a little bit of detail there. So let's go with that. And just like that. So there we go. So right now it's looking a little bit bare, but we want to add in a little bit more structural support to these bits. So it's not just a big block of wood held up by these little tree trunks. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here, kind of similar to what we did over here, is we're going to have little arches. These arches always help. We're going to actually use the same block, so I can grab those here. And we're just going to go along like this, using the slabs, and then trapdoors. So it gives it a nice curve, and we can kind of repeat, or we can use the clone tool, and then just go along, add them in quickly. Alright, next up is going to be the kind of lighting. So we're going to make some lampposts. So using the polished stuff wall with some fences. Then using these stairs to hold on to a chain where we add in a lantern. So we're going to add these in along the edge. You don't want to have too many of them. You don't want it to be too crowded. So go like this. And we can again use the clone tool. And we're just going to go across. We're going to skip a couple to here, skip a couple here, and that works out into the entrance here. And then we're going to go along here, rotate it, and then bring it along to the very last one here. And there we go. So that's the lighting for the dock. We can switch to nighttime. And it just adds a little bit more to the build itself. Alright, next is onto some decorations. So on top of these spare ones, I'm going to add just in these spruce buttons here. Just to add a little bit more along. So we go along with that. Maybe over here we got a pile of barrels kind of just set up. Just like where they store either their catch for the day or maybe some materials used, like some fishing rods or some tackle and such. And then maybe along the edges here, I'm going to turn off infinite reach, just add a couple lily pads. Just close because this kind of like the greenery is attracted to the side where it gathers. So just a bit more like that. Having like a little cove here. And then after that, we can maybe add in a little fishing structure. So over here, I'm going to add in like this. Sort of like we're making more of these lampposts, but instead, we're gonna go along and make a little house. Not quite a house, more like just a fishing shack. So we'll go along here and build this up. Alright, here we are. So a little bit of a roof built up here. Then I'm going to use these campfires here. But instead of having them on fire, I'm going to douse them. You can also do that with a shovel, but I'm using the tinker here so I can adjust when I right click with my fist. So go along here. And then maybe a little bench sitting out here, just so one can sit down whilst they're fishing. So we got a bit of detail here. Maybe work up a little onto this side. So we got a bit more detail. Maybe we can add in onto like top like that, just a little bit more. And then maybe grab this here. That. Just for a little bit more. And then maybe I'll copy this over. Instead of that one, we'll turn this into a full block. Same with this one, remove that. So it can kind of be like a strut that goes across. Just for like little structural support. And that looks pretty good. So that's another little detail added on top. I've got to add these buttons now. Don't want to miss any of those. Grab there, here, and here. So this is kind of just the plain docks. You can always add maybe a couple more barrels up onto this side here. Get a different orientation. And this is where you'd come to fish. One last piece of detail on here you can add is maybe adding these little trapdoors here. Just for a little bit more. You can maybe go like this. It's sort of like it's a brace that goes along each one to hold it towards the dock itself with the supports. So you can go around and just add these in. Alright, so there we go. Can't really see it too much on the edge here. That's this one. But it just adds a little bit more detail, maybe when you're in passing, or even if you can't see it, some detail is good either way. I've connected up the path here, so this goes up to here. And then I'll add in a bit of greenery, so I'm going to grab some bone meal. And just bone meal the ground over here, just to add in a bit of color. Just around. I had already started doing that at the bottom of the lake, but now we can start working on near the top, the edge. And that just definitely adds a lot of detail. The color contrast of the green with the dark mud in the water just looks a lot better that way. Alright, now that the dock is all done, we can move on to the smokehouse. So I think this one's going to be the smokehouse here. So it'll be, you bring the fish over here to be smoked and preserved and all that kind of stuff, prepared and such. And then brought across the road to this, and this might be a warehouse sort of like for storage. So it'll have a bunch of ice in it just to store the fish before it's brought over to the market or sent to be like the main city or bought somewhere else. So let's get into building those, and then we can get into decorating them. So here we are, all built up. I've added in a little bit of texture. So on the roof, I've mixed some dark oak with some spruce. For these posts, I'm going with the oak log and the strip spruce log. Then similar to how I built the tavern over here, for the walls it's cobblestone and then the dead coral blocks. Same over here, but on this side, closer to the water, I added in a bit of vines and some mossy blocks, and then some of this pale hanging moss just for a little bit more detail. Whilst building this one the first time around, it was just a basic box, same for this one, but I played around with some of these outshoots expanding on the side just for a little bit of shape difference. So now going on to the detailing. So we come over here, I've added in a little pile of boxes that are kind of just brought in, maybe brought over from the fishing storage here for now before it heads inside. Guess if I go like this, we can avoid seeing the entity thing here, but I've got a log pile, so for powering, keeping the smoker going, added in a little axe into the wood. And now let's head on inside. So first thing you see here is a little shelf, kind of got the maybe some orders for different things, where the fish needs to go, how many fish were caught, that kind of stuff. Maybe they're trying to stay organized. Then if we head over here, we got kind of the butchering station, so where you fillet the fish, and then remove the bones, dump the waste, maybe wash it a bit. Got a barrel of fish ready to be prepped like that. Then they're brought over here, we got kind of a salt barrel, and a fish kind of getting ready in like a plate of salt, just for preserving it. Then we come over here for my smoker. So I'm using some campfires, and then using the oak trapdoors because they got the holes in them, so the smoke can pass through. Kind of the walls, and then using these are entities, so just the cod, the rod cod, and then the smoke heads up. And if you see here, so we got some more campfires up there, just so that it brings smoke out of these chimneys here. In the time lapse, you saw that I came over here for this side of the chimney, because when you build these, they'll connect. So either using a debug stick or using the tinker, you can kind of remove little bits depending on how you want to build it. See how it comes like that. So you just go through and you can just remove like this and then like that, just to make it 2 individual chimneys. I'll fix that later. Coming back on to inside. If they've got too much coming over, we got a little bit of a cold storage. So I got some salmon down here in kind of a icy area. I think they'd get the ice from like the mountain tops, so one side you add in the colder peaks, I can find a place where they'll harvest that from. Okay, and that's the smokehouse done and all decorated. So now coming over to the storage area. So I kind of got a bunch of different roof types here, with a nice little extra area here just to break up the shape. So we got 2 kind of large barn doors, one shut and then one's kind of opened up here. And if we come in here, we got a barrel, someone's just dropped off their fish, and then some kind of larger trays of fish just for storage, maybe before or after they've been smoked and dried. Got some hanging up here, so I've made them a little larger on a chain. And then a little bit more storage, a backlog of fish, and then kind of like a drying room. So after it's smoked, it can be set up here to be air dried before being ready to ship off to wherever it's going to be sold. So that is the build to go along with the docks. Alright, so I've added a bit more greenery along the edges here of the lake here. And then I went in and came back and got some more entities in. So I put a couple barrels of fish here, just a fishing rod on the side here, waiting for someone to come pick it up. And then over here on this side, I kind of set up a station of fishing rod kind of anchored down so someone can be kind of wandering around and they don't have to hold it the whole time whilst they're fishing. I also went in and added in a couple fish throughout. I'll need to figure out a way to have them naturally spawn so that there's enough abundance of them within the lake itself so it doesn't seem too bare and empty, but this just adds a little bit more life with the movement of the fish going around. But I kind of got into making these little entities. As you saw in the last episode where I made the tavern, I made this little thing here, the sign with entities, as well as going around similar to how I did it for these, but instead of using player heads, I just created entities of items. And the way you do that, I'll come back over here to the storage area, and we can create a barrel of fish. So you grab, so composters are good for this kind of stuff. So in Axiom, if you hold Alt and you create display entity, you choose what you want. So for this one, I want a cod. We're going to grab a cooked one, so it's been smoked. These depend on how you want it to look. So if it was like an entity that would go on your head, it changes the shape or how it looks. For these things, you can just go with none and then done, and it'll spawn it at your feet. You can then move it around, rotate it, put the head up so you can know it's a fish, move it down in, then you place it like that. Now if you want another one, you can copy and paste like that. Zooms because my zoom is on C, and then just spawns the exact same one at your feet. After you've got a couple like I got here, you can then right click and go to the grouping, and anything within one block will be grouped together. So now if I move this, they move as one entity. So that's how I kind of spiced up the area a little here. If I go into survival, now I don't have the little entity block things. So it looks a little bit better this way. So you can kind of add in some entities just for a little bit more detail. Makes your world feel alive, like I've mentioned in past episodes. Just a little bit of detail that normally you wouldn't see in Minecraft. Right, and that is the builds for today's episode. If you've got any more ideas for maybe those entities, if you think of something creative, drop it down in a comment, and maybe I'll add it in and show you in a future episode. But I'm looking forward to continuing building this area up a little bit more. So if you want to see that, leave a like and subscribe for more videos coming soon. Until next time.